So you don't think that Orlando Anderson was, maybe he was a shooter, but he wasn't behind it? What is your theory?
I believe Orlando Anderson was some kind of pawn. Can I curse?
Yeah, you can curse.
Because my emotions is getting...
Oh, you
know
want
what I'm
to?
saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Negroes do a whole bunch of stupid shit for money. And ain't no telling. Ain't no telling. I think it's bigger than just some gangbangers.
It was clean.
Very clean. Nice and tidy. And I keep saying to people, know your enemy. Know your enemy. That's where what Pac and I learned as kids growing up about FBI, COINTELPRO, covert operations that, that are invisible to you or can be real. You know what I mean?
Out that Frank didn't have a gun. He lit into Frank's ass about it.
He was upset.
I think that would be an understatement. But Frank did have a reason for not having his weapon. He said he was told that he couldn't bring a gun into the city limits, and if they were found with weapons, they would be arrested. And did he say who told him that? It would have come from somebody an authoritative figure who can tell Frank, what to do. He said they said we couldn't have guns in the city of Las Vegas, or if they caught us, we would be arrested. And that was that.
So the motive is Suge Knight is a young kid who's gotten rich. He's really not a gangster, but he's playing a gangster role. He's hooked up with gangster folks. He's causing trouble. He's drawing the feds, he's drawing attention, and we're making a lot of money.
Okay.
So let's get him out the way. Then you got to be able to carry this mission out.
You have the means.
You got to have the means. If you're going to kill somebody, you better understand what the play is going to look like if you want to get away. And no one understands a successful homicide better than homicide police. The head of gangs and homicide from the Compton PD is Reggie Wright Sr., and the head of security at Death Row is Reggie Wright Jr.
Wow.
Well, let's be clear about it. Who in your mind do you think killed Tupac Shakur? Who was at the MGM Grand? Who knew the route to the nightclub? When you put those pieces together, you know who you are.
Why not name names?
It was nice knowing. I'm not playing. If you don't believe most of this on the cutting floor, this will be the last time you see me.
Have been indicted on federal drug trafficking and money laundering charges. Prosecutors say Reggie Wright Sr. and his son Reggie Wright Jr. are both members of the Grape Street Crips gang. Both arrested last week in Southern California on federal drug trafficking and money laundering charges out of Memphis, Tennessee. Prosecutors say the father and son are among 22 gang members and gang associates responsible for running a drug pipeline from Los Angeles to a gang in Memphis. The drugs include heroin, marijuana, meth, and cocaine. Reggie Wright Jr. also worked at Compton PD, but later left law enforcement to work for Suge Knight and Death Row Records.
I just wanted to know if you should be put back.
But when they say the shooting happened there at the car wash hamburger stand off Alondra and Willowbrook, that area. But he was found on the one street just
over.
Yeah. And the first person on the scene, Randy, was Reggie Wright.
Imagine that.
First person, man. And he was shocked when he saw myself and Pilcher there at first. The first unit to show up, undercover narcotics officers.
Wow.
You know.
I did not know.
Yeah, He was dead. They shot him up good. That's why I say there's conspiracy there where possibly he followed him and called, okay, he's over here. Let's do him in. Let's get it done.
Wow.
All right. So then there's another write-up that Ray Richardson got a dying declaration from Orlando Anderson. And
what did he say? I
funny.
Killed Tupac.
Something like that. Yeah. Okay.
And Orlando Anderson or whoever I portrayed as the killer. That's just the way we come up in this country. We either come up as killers or we come up as successful,
Of course, for those who don't know, Orlando Anderson was the guy who he had gotten into the altercation with in the hotel after the fight, and they alleged that he had actually pulled the trigger to kill Tupac. And he was killed, what, a year or two or something like that afterwards?
Yeah, right after Pac. He was killed maybe less than 2 years after Pac in a drug deal going bad in Los Angeles. And he always denied it, but, a lot of people believe that he had a lot to do with it. I tend to believe that he didn't kill Pac because I got information from very reliable people.
Even if we let Suge Knight tell his story, he's saying that Orlando Anderson didn't kill Pac.
Right.
So I think we can weed him out altogether,
Right. So that's not how the story is portrayed. The way
You in Vegas after a fight. I done been in Vegas. I don't know if any of y'all out there been to Vegas, but you can't move nowhere after a fight. It's thrown up. You don't go nowhere. It's nowhere to move. So if somebody gonna drive by in a white caddy and get away, man, come on, man. Don't talk to me about no fakeness, man. Let's talk on some seriousness, man. This ain't no gangbang thing. It ain't no gangbang thing. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. There's something way deeper than that. You're looking past what really going on here. You know what I mean? You get it set up. You see east-west. Oh, that's the perfect alibi. It's an east-west thing going on. We easily come kill everybody. You're going to blame it on some gangbang thing. You ain't driving by on nothing in Vegas and disappearing into no desert after no fight. You can't move nowhere. You can't go across the street without a half an hour wait walking.
Museum where there was that vibe party, which coming out of that, Biggie was shot.
I was in jail, like I'm in jail now.
Yeah.
You know?
But I'm sure that there was a lot of conversations about it. What do you think happened that night?
Well, first of all, I'm quite sure they know what happened.
Who's they?
The authorities.
When Ice and I run around and talk to people, they name you as the person behind the hit on Biggie.
Well, one, I don't know. I wasn't there. Two, that's not my style to want to see anybody life destroyed.
Tell me about David Mack.
I never met that man in my life.
The police officer, David Mack.
Never worked for me. At all. Never.
Suge, those names be popping on the streets. You know about Rafael Perez, Mac, and them doing the whole setup thing.
I never had a conversation with none of those dudes. Never met those dudes. They never worked for me. They knew Reggie right. They didn't know me.
So, Suge, I know you were in prison, but Ice and I, we've heard consistently, Suge, that you're the person behind the hit on Biggie.
Well, they looked at y'all and told y'all a fat-ass lie. If that's the case, did Tupac life mean anything? Because they never saw that case. Sometimes if you saw the first case, you might saw the second case. But that never happened, correct?
Yep.
If I asked you, who killed Tupac, who would you say?
Who pulled the trigger? Orlando Anderson, is what I've been told.
Okay, have anybody been arrested? Because it's not one person in the car. He didn't drive. He wasn't the driver and the trigger man, was he? I never had a problem with it.
Why are they calling you officer? Nobody's calling me an officer. Ain't nobody. I'll go live with anybody on Instagram that believes I'm an officer. And nobody is calling me an officer.
Miss Wallace, this is, Jack, this is Miss Wallace.
Hello.
I know who you are, ma'am. 20 years ago, I made a false claim against your son.
And?
I was mistaken.
Well, it takes a big man to admit that he makes a mistake.
You're a very kind woman. Would you mind,
please,
Jack? Have a seat. It's been very helpful.
With the case?
Yes.
I didn't think that you guys would be on good terms. I mean...
And why is that?
Well, I mean... You know, your family's case and using his theory to support it and then it being dismissed.
Oh, no, the case was not dismissed. It was a mistrial.
Huge difference. A federal judge caught the LAPD hiding evidence that linked Mac and Perez to Christopher's murder and declared a mistrial. Now, here's the kicker. The city of LA, they reopened the investigation because as long as it's an ongoing investigation, that evidence stays locked away in the dark.
So we cannot sue LAPD because they are investigating the case.
My house over here. It's a search warrant for Max and Paula. They filed it after you resigned. You know? They pushed you out of the force, saying that your theory has no merit, and then they use your theory, his theory, to go forward.
Miss Wallace, this has been an unbearably long and painful road for you. I'm so sorry that you've had to endure all this.
You have nothing to feel sorry about. Because of you, I came this far.
So we got the trolls up in here, but you know what? I'm cool with most of you trolls. I don't even trip on most of you trolls. But look, I'm gonna tell you, one of these trolls created a video, and he put my daughter, a photo of my daughter in his video. That really got me heated. That troll crossed the line. He created a video and put a picture of me and my daughter when my daughter was just like 10 years old, like a little girl, and put a picture of that in his video, which didn't even make no sense. It wasn't even relevant to the video, you know? So I'm coming to some, yeah. It was the Alex Lyndhurst. I mean, I don't want to give this guy any shine or nothing, but yeah, the Alex Lyndhurst troll. This dude put a picture of my daughter, my little daughter, in a damn video that had to do with the murder of Tupac Shakur, and it was just completely, it didn't make no sense. Like, why are you putting a picture? If you would have put a picture of me in there, okay, but you put a picture of my daughter in the video. Oh my gosh. So, you know, why are they calling you officer? Nobody's calling me an officer. Ain't nobody. I'll go live with anybody on Instagram that believes I'm an officer. And nobody is calling me an officer. I don't even know where that comes from. Nobody from LA, nobody in California, no one in Southern California is calling me an officer. Alex Lyndhurst is Big Kaz. I don't think Alex Lyndhurst is Big Kaz. I don't. I really don't believe that Big Kaz and Alex Lyndhurst is the same guy. I do not believe that's the case. Alex Lyndhurst is Big Kaz. I don't think Alex Lyndhurst is Big Kaz. I don't. I really don't believe that Big Kaz and Alex Lyndhurst is the same guy. I do not believe that's the case.
Nobody ever believed he was real. Nobody ever knew him or saw anybody that ever worked directly for him. But to hear Kobayashi tell it, anybody could have worked for Suge. You never knew. That was his power. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. One story the guys told me, the story I believe, was from his days in Turkey. There was a gang of Hungarians that wanted their own mob. They realized that to be in power, you didn't need guns or money or even numbers. You just needed the will to do what the other guy wouldn't. After a while, they come into power, and then they come after Suge. He was small time then, just running dope, they say. They come to his home in the afternoon, looking for his business. They find his wife and kids in the house and decide to wait for Suge. He comes home to find his wife raped and children screaming. The Hungarians knew Suge was tough, not to be trifled with, so they let him know they meant business. They tell him they want his territory, all his business. Suge looks over the faces of his family. Then he showed these men of will what will really was. He would rather see his family dead than live another day after this. He lets the last Hungarian go. He waits until his wife and kids are in the ground, and then he goes after the rest of the mob. He kills their kids, he kills their wives, he kills their parents and their parents' friends. He burns down the houses they live in and the stores they work in. He kills people that owe them money. And like that, underground. Nobody's ever seen him since. He becomes a myth, a spook story that criminals tell their kids at night. Rat on your pop, and Kaiser Soze will get you. And no one ever really believes. Do you believe in him, Verbal? Keaton always said, I don't believe in God, but I'm afraid of him. Well, I believe in God. And the only thing that scares me